Organized crime makes more than $870 billion a year around the world, according to the latest study from the United Nations. Some of the money promotes violent crime in Central America, particularly in the Northern Triangle of Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. Murder rates in the region are among the highest in the world. Nowhere is that more clear than in Honduras. Our correspondent John Holman recently returned from San Pedro Sula, a city that has been ripped apart by the drug trade and deadly gang violence. He brings us this report. We caution that some of the images you're about to see are disturbing.
Wilmer Solis is wheeled into the emergency room. He's 13 years old. He's just been shot in the face. It's 3 p.m. Monday afternoon in San Pedro Sula. His aunt Raquel Murcia watches anxiously, hoping the doctors can save him.
Cuando llegó él a la casa y me dice, tía, le voy a traer voy a ir a la pulpería a traerle un café, vaya después. Y entonces sale del portón solo a que le tiraran el tiro. Nosotros lo oímos, mire, ¡pam! Ay, Dios mío, el niño, les digo, yo acabé de salir.
In the neighborhood where she and Wilmer live, such attacks are common.
Sí, montones de muchachos que han matado, cipotes, inocentes. Si eso ahí estamos como que estuviéramos en el rastro. Eso es tremendo, ni quiera Dios. Sí. En el día son tirazones, viera, pleno día, que las balas zumban en las casas. Pero vamos a ver qué dice Dios, tal vez no me muere mi muchachito.
By the time more relatives arrive, Wilmer is dead. The family's grief, a familiar sight to those living in a city consumed by violence.
Desde San Pedro Sula, donde las muertes violentas no dan tregua. La noche de este jueves...
The people of San Pedro Sula have woken up to the same news for years. With a population of around 1 million, the city is the country's economic hub. But it's become best known as a gang battleground, with the highest homicide rate in the world. Murder and mutilation are daily rituals. Two brutal street gangs, the Maras 13 and 18, fight for dominance and territory. As Honduras' significance as a drug transit point has exploded, so has their power. They threaten and extort. Those who don't pay are killed. In May, a rare glimmer of hope, gang leaders issued an apology from behind prison walls and a promise to end violence and extortion.
Apoyo moral.
I asked the Mara 13 leader, known as Marcos, what they wanted from the government in return.
Materiales para trabajar. Nosotros queremos trabajar y eso es lo que queremos, eso es lo que urge.
The government still hasn't responded. In that time, hundreds more have been killed. The safest way into the city's many gang-held neighborhoods is with the military, drafted in to prop up the failing forces of law and order. For the past couple of months, the army has been patrolling the more dangerous neighborhoods in San Pedro Sula. They've told us that it's because the police was too corrupt to do its job. We're going to visit the family of Wilmer Solis. It's the day his body is arriving home. Lieutenant Oscar Vasquez describes how violence has torn apart the community.
Estamos en un punto fronterizo. Esta es una calle que divide la zona de la 18, Mara 18 frontera, y la zona Salvatrucha, que es la MS, que también le llaman Mara M13. Aquí lo que sucede es un conflicto que se tiene por disputa de territorios. Ellos disputan sus territorios por venta de drogas, por secuestros, robos. Ellos tienen controlada toda esta zona.
Wilmer's family tell us the 18 gang want their house and have it surrounded. His murder was a message to get out. The soldiers stop and search those they suspect are informants, checking their shoes for radios. Everyone is under suspicion. But any gang members melt away into the neighborhood. No one is found. Lieutenant Vasquez says this community fears the gangs much more than it trusts the government.
La gente no apoya y es por temor porque están amenazados y tiene razón porque en algún momento nosotros salimos de acá y ellos se quedan expuestos de nuevo a...
At the school, Wilmer arrives and is carried into a small classroom. Young and old look at his face for the last time. His primary school teacher, Elvidio Garcia, is struggling to cope.
Me hace flaquear mi fe. Y en esos momentos digo yo, bueno, pero Señor, ¿y qué pasó? ¿Dónde estabas tú? Para mí eso es lamentable, que los jóvenes muchachos nuestros vecinitos que los hemos visto, estén fracasando de esa manera. Mira, yo creo que una de las principales cosas sería, pues, comenzar a invertir en los jóvenes, en educación. Vamos, mira en el área donde estamos. Estamos trabajando en unas condiciones pésimas. No tenemos unas condiciones para poder darle también a los jóvenes unos talleres para poder ir mejorando su vida. Sino que...
2 out of 3 children in Honduras are born into poverty. When they grow up, unemployment beckons. Half of the population have no job. For many, gangs present the best or only offer. Those who do join and get caught end up in El Carmen, San Pedro Sula's juvenile prison. Mara 18 teenagers have made their block into a shrine. On the walls, gravestones honour slain members. Whatever questions I ask them, their answer is the same. Their only loyalty is to the gang.
¿Cómo responden a esto, que la gente les tiene miedo?
Nos toca matar, vamos a matar, nos toca robar, vamos a robar, y nos toca hacer de todo, y nos toca morir y dar la vida por la 18, la vamos a dar.
In the block next door, the Mara 13, Bodin tells me he would like to be a carpenter, but there are no classes, no chance to learn here. The government won't pay for the teachers. Sent here for rehabilitation, the prison seems nothing more than an incubator of future violence. In the aftermath of violence, like Wilmer's murder, justice rarely follows.
No hay esperanza y no hay respuesta. La gente tiene mucho miedo de hablar, saben quién fue, saben, en el caso de este niño, estoy seguro, completamente seguro, que saben quién mató a este niño, pero no van a decirlo. Y como no van a decirlo, es difícil que tengamos a una persona en la corte para juzgarlo y para condenarlo.
Ramón Barrios, a judge, has lost faith in his own legal system.
Una persona que mata en Honduras actualmente tiene alrededor de 95% de posibilidades de no ser capturado. Así que la impunidad es grande en Honduras y tiene una respuesta. ¿Cuál es la respuesta? Falta de investigación. No hay investigación en Honduras.
We went from office to office, trying to pin down who was investigating Wilmer's murder. Eventually, we met the officers on the case.
We've just visited the child murder unit, which should be investigating Wilmer's death. They wouldn't let us film in there, but on the desk of the officer that we spoke to, a stack of unsolved cases. As for Wilmer, they haven't even received his case file.
Police are accused of working hand in hand with gangs and drug cartels. Officers told us privately they don't have the money to investigate crimes or protect witnesses, and that gangs kill 90% of those who testify. Wilmer, meanwhile, has fallen through the cracks like almost every other murder victim in Honduras. We returned to the prison to speak again with gang leader Marcos. This time our cameras weren't allowed in, so we filmed secretly. On our last visit, he had promised to halt the violence.
Ya totalmente ya terminó. Crean o no crean, nosotros hicimos el primer paso. El gobierno hace que el gobierno dé su paso también, igual que nosotros, porque los dos tenemos.
Nothing new, and his sincerity is questionable. Many more have died since the gangs made their promise to stop killing. But their offer of talks remains. Julio Raudales, the Honduran planning minister, advises the president on policy. I asked him for his direct response to the gang's offer.
Yo no estaría tan seguro de que sea conveniente para un gobierno negociar y dialogar con personas que no están dispuestas a cumplir con la ley.
But later, When I asked again, the policy seemed to have changed.
Tú no puedes ir a un diálogo sin nada. Tú no puedes ir a decirles a las pandillas, ya no quiero que sigas matando, o no quiero que sigas robando, o no quiero que sigas delinquiendo. Y ya, porque yo soy el gobierno, tú tienes que decirle, mira, aquí tienes una opción mejor. Y esa opción en ese momento no existe y hay que crearla. Debería ser una prioridad para cualquier gobierno.
Just to be very clear about this, the government hasn't come to the table. The government isn't talking to the gangs because at the moment it has nothing to offer them.
No tiene en este momento. Algo claro, algo concreto que ofrecer, no lo tiene.
The gangs and those calling for more opportunities have their answer. A bleak outlook for a generation marked by an increasing number of crosses in Honduran graveyards. The cemeteries are filling up with the 3,000 young who have been killed in the last 3 years alone. Today is the turn of Wilma Solis. 2 days after seeing her nephew cut down, Raquel Murcia buries him. I ask her if she expects any justice.
Solo Dios que ponga su mano. Dios es el único. Ahí se lo dejo todo al Señor.
¿Van a poner una denuncia?
No, no.
Another statistic, another life cut short in a country struggling for answers.
Our thanks to John Holman for that report.